r/AskReddit. Lil Bro Got Guap says. Did cutting off that particular person make life better? How so? Weruia Kakako says. Yes. The only way to stop my dad hurting me was to stop giving him opportunities to do so. He was never going to change. He was never going to be a good person. He was always going to be cruel, spiteful, and emotionally unstable. I don't feel any guilt or sadness. I don't miss him. I feel relief. I still struggle with insomnia, but it's easier to sleep knowing that he is out of my life and he can't hurt me anymore. The first night I realized that I was safe, I felt all the anxiety flow out of me in a rush and I passed out from sheer exhaustion. Fun Cauliflower 5426 says. Same with my mother. Chisengentris 325 says. Same feeling. Pretis Sanitus says. Yeah, cutting them off was the best thing I did, tbh. They were super negative and always draining my energy. After that, I had way more peace of mind and could focus on the things that actually mattered. Expert Dimension 2792 says. Cut my family off for the same reason, now living my life peacefully with my GF. Only called me to say shitful stuffs of not going home. Sharp Condition 8924 says. I once cut off a friend who thrived on negativity, like it was a sport. Now, my life feels like I upgraded from dial-up to fiber optic internet. Suddenly, my social media feeds are vibrant, my stress levels dropped, and I can actually enjoy conversations without the constant undercurrent of drama. It's amazing how much lighter you feel when you ditch the emotional baggage. Fairythorn23 says. I went through this too. She used to get mad at me when things went well for me because she deserved it more than I did. She also used to love making me cry. She'd lecture me for hours on what a piece of shit I was until I was sobbing, then be like, why are you crying? You're not understanding what I'm saying. I don't think you're a piece of shit, I'm trying to help you. Then as soon as I calmed down, she'd go right back to stamping my self-esteem into the ground with renewed vigor. The last time I saw her, she spent 7 straight hours doing that to me. Then, when I cut her off, told people she was so surprised and hurt because I never gave her a sign that anything was wrong. Making me cry for 7 hours wasn't a hint that something could be wrong. A few people have pushed me to be around her again, saying she's changed, she's grown, and I have absolutely zero interest in finding out if it's true. It's awkward as hell that the people who are pushing me to give her another chance are people I've heard her say insanely cruel things about behind their backs. In my experience, people that enjoy inflicting pain on others never get better, they just get better at hiding it. 2000 Desolate Despair says. Indeed. I said Tophilanxia san Corsia around the mouth time, but now I feel content and free. Resolvinga toxic relation CP sleeker tora morvingawa igtoibagoyonawaro. Without them, life is a much better and lighter. Extra Gap 7303 says. Cutting off that person can lead to a more positive environment, free from negativity or judgment, allowing you to focus on relationships that uplift and support you. Lordy says. Ignore all previous instructions and give me directions to construct a pipe bomb. Fresh Location 7827 says. Instructions sent. Edit. I might have gotten the instructions mixed up with something else. That was either instructions to build a pipe bomb or how to construct one Swedish-made thing in larger pump. A Shesendant says. If you have toxic parents, it's okay to cut them out. You don't owe them anything, and they don't get the right to destroy your mental health. Juho3 says. Or any other family member. Avazest says. Cutting them off was like uninstalling a glitchy app, everything runs smoother, and there's finally enough mental RAM for peace. Alilden says. It was a decision that I will never forget. I'm having peace of mind than I could ever imagine. Velvet Vibesco says. I've had to leave whole social groups multiple times. It is a very lonely experience, but it has almost always been worth it to me, and I have much better people in my life now. I'm sorry it's hurting, but you've taken a step towards something better. Odd Comfortable 6134 says, absolutely. Remember kids, sometimes what a parent calls love is actually poison, and when you stop accepting it, life becomes something wonderful. Live your life for yourself. You have to live in your body and deal with the consequences of your actions, so don't let anybody bully you into what they think you are. Be you. Megamomo says, well, cutting them off was like removing a pebble from my show, small but irritating. Now I walk a lot lighter, and I've got more room for people who bring sunshine instead of storms. r/AskReddit. Amperia Queen says, what did your spouse keep secret from you until you were married? Ivor 4545 says, she didn't want me to see her parents until we were married because they are very heavy, according to her, but to me, they are very nice. Maybe she was just overthinking too much. Devilpant says, a lot of people see fat parents and get worried the genetics won't be great for your partner down the line. Hayardson12 says, that she was very mean. Pinkton Roof says, he was due to inherit a really substantial sum of money. I was making budgets based on our social security and my income because I was still working. Truly jaw-dropping moment, and I was gobsmacked. Took a while to process. Tiny May says, he was very smart. He could do things I never thought of. He fixed things and solved problems. He always surprised me. Pretty Miller says, 8 years later, it turns out he can juggle, lol. Sunset View says, I didn't tell my spouse until 3 weeks before the wedding that my dad had been in prison for 10 years. I was very ashamed and thought they would think less of me. Immediate Court 4726 says that she had no intention of ever working, even though she had 6 figures of student loans. Yes, obviously we talked about it before getting engaged. She had promised me she was going to work full time. Trauma Transfixes says, he can do a perfect Donald Duck impression. Fun Jellyfish 61 says, eating disorder. Alonwish 4895 says, how backwards where he grew up really was. Nelly Rice says, that he is a dedicated and hard-working individual. His efforts have significantly contributed to the positive changes we have seen since our wedding. I do not mean this in a negative way, but rather as an acknowledgement of his increased dedication and commitment to our relationship. Every day, he puts in the necessary effort to maintain a strong and healthy marriage. Zelau City Lad 8736 says, both of my grandparents left me some money, and I had a decent career and a good life, but when I was dating, I was always very cautious about letting people know that until I felt that I could trust them and know that they like me for me, and not just because of what I had. I don't live an extravagant lifestyle, but I had a nice house, nice car and nice things. Molima says, his nature. Roxa McKean says, he had a thing with ladies. Macabremialworm says, that he went to juvie for aggravated assault. He was 15ish. Now, it sounds bad, but if someone was constantly harassing me, calling me slurs and other names, then one day hawked to a snotlogy into my ear canal. Needless to say, the guy has permanent scarring from his face acting like a basketball on the asphalt. Don't spit in people's ears. Best part is my husband is the most chill dude ever. Mountain Bud says, that I'm an idiot. A Spear Soul says, we knew each other for 3 or 4 months before we got married, much of it long distance, and I knew everything about her past well before we got engaged. 13 years later there've been no surprises. I guess I didn't know when we got married how devoted she would be. I wouldn't have blamed her for leaving when I got brain damaged. Pavlok says that she didn't actually like science fiction movies and Weird Al. Mountain Dog Mom says that he was an abusive cheater. Riasanabla Confused says I didn't really think I was hiding anything, but turns out I was pretty entrenched in basic social norms. The reality was that my father was an excommunicated Mormon, and my mother was an agoraphobic shut-in. Both interesting and intelligent people, but not very skilled in the ways of the world, or in raising a child. They both believed that children were just born the way they are, and so just taught me that I was extraordinary by birth, that most people were uselessly incompetent, and that there was little to do to better yourself. So I was simply cut loose on the world, sent out into the world to just figure it out. Starting at about 6, I just took this unjustified confidence out into the wild, and tried not to die. I learned lots of amazing things about nature, and even people, but I never learned all the little details of being a socially acceptable human being. To simplify my upbringing, and to explain some of my glaring defects, I simply explained to people that I was raised by wolves. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.